Okay guys, welcome to episode 3 of Corpse Party Blood Drive and the start of chapter 1. So, in the last episode we beat chapter 0, and we kind of figured out a couple different little things, like the curse is spreading further, and stuff like that. And we found this girl that decided she was, well, very knowledgeable in the mystic crap. Anyway, chapter 1 is called Returning. Intriguing. I'm guessing it means we're returning to school? Maybe. Let's get the happy music. A day had passed since the events at Shimojakan's South Apartments. This was to be significant. Oh, a significant turning point for me. And Makoda might have been a part of it from the start. Except that fate seemed to have other plans for him. Miss Kuhn, I have something pressing I need to get to. So if you'll excuse me. No, you sit back down. Satoshi, your score on that algebra quiz yesterday was rather embarrassing, don't you think? Like an owner training a puppy, Kuhn gave him a strong glare and held up her index finger in reprimand? Yeah, I think. For you the next hour, I'm going to give you a personal lecture, and you're going to listen. And then, the next quiz will be a snap to pass. But aren't you an English teacher? Isn't algebra a little outside your field of expertise? Anything's possible if you put your mind to it. Honestly, but if you're an English teacher, can't a math teacher do this? She seemed a little taken aback by that remark, puffing her cheeks like a chipmunk in protest. But, Miss Kuhn, it's starting how alike she and Miss Yoi are. I'm sorry. Looking both bemused and guilty, Makoto tried to get up and leave his seat in one swift motion, but he was quickly and easily caught, lifted up by the forcefully and sat back down. Miss Kuhn was smiling. She was actually enjoying this. Who or what am I dealing with here? Miss Kuhn was only the slightest bit taller than Makoto. This did make her taller than the average, but her arms were small and frail. There seemed to be no way she could possibly have lifted someone of his build. This whole situation was rather bewildering for him, and he made no attempt to hide his confusion. Now, let's begin, shall we? Yes, ma'am. He had no other option. Apparently he was going to be studying algebra for the next hour, come hell or high water. I don't understand what that means. Oh, now where are we? Meanwhile, at a local cafe near the school, Kishinuma and I were sitting down to speak with Iconia, the informant who'd led my friends to me the previous night. Are you alright? Does your stomach hurt? I responded with a dismissive gesture, while continuing to rub my abdomen with my other hand. Ever since the previous night, I'd had this constant, unbearable urge to pee. What the hell's going on with me? I mean, I know I got really scared when I hyperventilated, but that can't affect the body like this. Did it change something in me? My bladder feels like it's fit to burst. So, where shall I begin? Aiko tilted her head and stared at me, looking me up and down, seemingly judging my every mannerism, my every movement. It was making me feel really self-conscious. I covered my abdomen with both hands, as if guarding it from her gaze. Thank you very much for your help yesterday. Think nothing of it. I only regret that your friends couldn't get to you sooner. Kidazaki Academy is quite large, so it took some time to track down Kishinuma and the others. Kishinuma and I stared at one another, still unsure how to feel about this strange new addition to our entourage. Ayumi, Kishinuma, you two are survivors from Heavenly Host Elementary, are you not? We pledged never to discuss Heavenly Host with anyone else, which we'd always assumed would be an easy promise to keep. But now, casually out of the blue, here we were. Why? How do you know about that? Well, you've been touched by the ever after. When people come into contact with the beyond, the color of their auras changes to something otherworldly, something I can see. Interesting. Both Kishinuma and I were speechless. I just sat there, staring at my palm, subconsciously trying to see my aura, I guess. Aiko was smiling at us triumphantly. You said you were an intelligence agent? Was it? For the supernatural? Oh, Fuck, I dropped my controller. Sorry, I didn't get to finish reading that sentence. Frick. Oh. Okay. You said your intelligence agent, was it? For the supernatural? And you're a friend of Naho's. Okay, so that's what was said. Okay, I dropped my controller and just skipped it. That's correct. I'm the one who tipped her off about Heavenly Host Elementary, in fact. The true source of the deaths and subsequent erasures, maybe, that had turned our lives into a living nightmare was the Sachiko Ever After ritual posted by Naho's occult blog. I'd been a fan of Naho's for quite some time, so when I saw that, I knew I had to try it out with my friends from class, 2-9. And as a request, half of those friends were gone now. I suppose you're aware that Naho was involved in supernatural investigations on behalf of Mr. Kabiki, no? I am, and I know she hasn't been since the posting information on Sachiko Ever After. Well, my business is of similar nature. I gather data from spiritual hotspots and other supernatural locales, and sell that data to my clients for a fair profit. Not always money, mind you. Sometimes I'll do my dirty work in exchange for a particular spirit item that piques my interest. Perks my interest? It's supposed to be piques, anyway. It all depends on whom I'm dealing with. It's entirely give and take. They want my information, and I want their cash or their artifacts. Physically, Aiko was a very attractive young lady, but personality-wise, the jury was still out. Her words were calculated and emotionless. Her true intentions, a mystery. One could call me an information dealer, but I prefer intelligence agent, and Naho was a good customer. My info on Heavenly Host proved to be her last purchase. However, at the time, Naho was single-mindedly excited about Mr. Kabiki's work. She believed he could qualify for some award with the information I found for her. Say, could you tell me, was Naho there, in that other world you found yourself trapped in? Naho died, together with Mr. Kabiki. I looked down as I answered. Despite everything she'd done, the memory of Naho's passing was still painful for me. She'd become one of Heavenly Host's lost souls and gone completely berserk. In the end, I was the one who finished her off. I see. I assumed as much. Aiko seemed completely unaffected by this revelation. Her tone remained even and her expression cold and distant. Honestly, I'd had about enough of her by this point. She was so devoid of empathy, it was almost offensive. I was genuinely starting to get pissed off. And you're okay with that? I do feel sorry for her, don't get me wrong. But I had a strong feeling things would end this way. There's no point in limiting that for which I was fully prepared. Kishinuma continued to stare intently at Aiko, with his own brand of cold, emotionless eyes. He was oddly quiet, though his anger was palpable. I clenched my fist. What about this girl? I believe she performed the ritual alongside Naho. Did you see her there as well? Aiko showed us a photo of the girl named Sayaka Ui. Yes, she died too. She died kind of brutally and not very nicely. Do you know? No. I can't say I've ever met her. I see. Aiko's expression was so unfaltering. You could carve it in stone. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to say something. If you're calling Naho your customer, I don't think you can really say you were her friend. My voice was breaking with rage. But even if that hadn't been the case, my face must have read like a book. This icy bitch may have had only one expression, but I sure didn't. Oh my, do you have something against that word? When I deal with my customers, I give them a guarantee of the utmost quality, and dedicate myself to their satisfaction. It's an unbreakable bond of trust, like one would have for a partner, and that's not always something you can say about friendship now, is it? I had no idea what to say. It seemed like Aiko was used to this sort of thing. Her response felt carefully rehearsed, and like a sales pitch. Finally, Kishinuma broke his silence. Hey, I don't want to thank you for helping us save Shinozaki yesterday. Really. Oh, I do want, sorry. But spreading dangerous information just to pay the bills? How the hell can you sleep at night? Information is just that. Information. It's harmless on its own. There's no good or bad. It's like a tool. It's up to the recipient how it's used. Anything can be harmful in the wrong hands. After all, why, that cup over there could be used to kill a man just as easily as any knife. The hell it could! That's bullshit and you know it! Ayumi, do you agree? Aiko, I'm sorry, but I hate the way you think. I feel it's irresponsible. Irresponsible? Her expression remained calm and collected overall, but her eyes blinked several times in rapid succession. It was the first outward sign of emotion we'd seen from her. Well now, it seems I've come to be regarded as something of a villain here. I can't say this is new or unexpected, but it never ceases to be disheartening. Aiko quickly shrugged off her sudden outburst and was back to her usual icy self. It doesn't matter now. Anyway, we destroyed Heavenly Host. It's gone. I don't know how we destroyed it or not. An awkward tension filled the room. Or at least our table. Let's get down to business then. There's a reason I sought you out. Something I wanted to discuss with you. Aiko produced a thick, heart-bound file folder from the light blue bag she'd brought with her. She opened it to reveal several documents of a questionable nature. Among them were what looked to be a family tree, as well as numerous pages featuring black magic, symbology, or images that looked like tree branches. Oh, I wouldn't understand it. Black magic spell charts? And is that the Shinozaki family tree? You may find what I am about to tell you a bit shocking. Aiko was looking directly into my eyes now. Her gaze was fixed, intense and unblinking. What Kishinuma said a moment ago is incorrect. Huh? What do you mean? Heavenly Host Elementary has not been destroyed. It still exists, even now. Take a look at this. Okay, Aiko placed a black and white photo on the table. It wasn't the clearest of pictures, but there was no doubt that the location depicted was Heavenly Host Elementary. In the picture, a small girl could be seen standing in one of those all-too-familiar hallways, holding a hatchet in her right hand. It's Heavenly Host! Where did this come from? We have confirmation, then. It's a photograph I've taken. I didn't have the power to produce a clearer image, but this is the current state within Heavenly Host. I don't understand. What am I looking at? I'd like to know that, too. I can't even describe what was going through my head at that moment. I felt like I was about to burst. Aiko, however, remained calm as ever while recounting her story. Let's start at the beginning. First, the red box from yesterday. After some time, I was able to open it, and I found these spirit items contained within. The box I'd found at Machina's futon. Inside it were, apparently, 2 stones resembling magatama, comma-shaped ceremonial objects from Japanese antiquity? Fuck. Antiquity. There's a lot of fucking big words in this game. You realize that, guys? Also included in the box were several more roughly hewn stones, as well as a lining along the edges consisting of crumpled pieces of thin, white paper. Unfortunately, most of the box's contents were broken or damaged. This pair, however, was still fully intact. That's on the fucking cover, and on the everything else. They looked almost like a demented version of yin and yang symbols, puzzle pieces that were clearly built to be slotted together. Aiko now held 1 stone in each hand, and was motioning them toward one another as if to drive that point home. Spirit items are, in the simplest terms, items which have been infused with the thoughts and feelings of the dead. Those who bear such objects will be visited by the spirits within them, or at the very least, be forever privy to their memories and earthly lineaments. It's a wonderful thing. I may not quite look the part, but I'm actually quite the avid collector of spirit items. Okay, Kishinuma and I briefly locked eyes again. We shared the same look of bewilderment. Aiko's personality was much more twisted than either of us had intentionally perceived it to be. I tried to get a fix on this little girl's thoughts, and in doing so, I heard a vengeful cry, and saw an image of a girl with braided hair and an abandoned school building. Why was I having trouble saying abandoned school building? Fuck's sakes. I swear to God, this has something to do with my fucking problems. And by my problems, I mean I have, like, friggin' depression problems, and it's hitting me hard today, and hopefully I was hoping this episode would help with it, but so far it is. But, you know, anyway, my curiosity having been piqued, I took out this camera. At this, she produced an old instant camera and placed it on the table in front of us, and tried to take a photo of the image in my mind. The result is that shot. This particular spirit item only allows me to produce images from the exact moment in time when the picture is taken. The past and future alike are beyond its reach. So it's the exact time standing there. I examined the photograph in greater detail, and a chill ran down my spine. There was absolutely no denying what it depicted. No. I was actually shaking. Without Sachiko Shinozaki, the school should have collapsed. It should have ceased to exist as soon as we escaped. I believe the collapse was halted, perhaps right on the brink, even. Maybe because of the person to whom that voice I heard belongs. Okay. So that would make a little bit of sense, but not a lot. Aiko motioned toward the photo in my hand. It could have been that girl in that picture. I wonder who she is. Do you know? The answer was beginning to dawn on me. A sudden cold sensation exploded through my body and I shuddered, as if trying to shake off the enroaching realization. God damn! You really think that hellhole is still around? Kushinuma leaned forward. The conversation was clearly beginning to engage him a lot more than it had been. Heavenly Hills Elementary, or rather, the dimensional space that took on the form of Heavenly Hills Elementary, fascinated me from the moment I introduced it to Naho. I began to research it independently, and learned that its true identity is, well, something like a new Nirvana, a netherworld, or hereafter, an otherworldly plane of death. Though, ordinarily, one tends to think of there being only this world and the next. A new Nirvana. That's correct. You know about Yoshi Shinozaki, do you not? Yeah. And of her clinic, the Shinozaki estate, wherein the grimoire known as the Book of Shadows was located. Yeah? Why? How could she know about that? A million thoughts, a million questions were running through my head. I was speechless. All I could do was sit there and hear her out. Fuck. Okay, I see Sachiko, and this is, Yoshi. It was like a muffled scream, or a moan of agony, the sound you make when you want to make a sound, but are barely able to. That one was a little more forceful. Accompanied by thrashing, it caused a nearby table light to fall over and roll along the ground. Please, dear, come now. I need you to stay calm. This was Yoshi Shinozaki's clinic. And Yoshi herself was on top of her husband, holding him down with both of her hands. She continued her Shinto purification chant. To prevent Senji from biting off his own tongue, he had been gagged with a towel. Needless to say, he wasn't looking particularly well. Not far from where this was occurring, Sachiko stood aghast, trembling as she watched the proceedings, and with hesitant, sidelong glances. Izanagi no Okomi, who visits the underworld and beholds our foul spirits, guide us to the cleansing waters of the Tachibana in the Odo no Agahara shores to the land of Tsukiyushi. These are Japanese words, for frig's sakes. What's wrong with him? May I ask? Seiji, still collapsed on the floor, was clearly suffering. His body was bent into a most unnatural shape, and he was fervently clawing at his neck. I beseech thee, in the name of the divine virtues of the gods gathered here, to wash away the sins we've committed and the impurities that dwell within our minds and bodies. Sachiko's father screamed through his gag, foam beginning to froth out from its edges. He was going into cyanosis. Ghostly images of Shinozaki women from ages past smiled down upon the event from the ceiling, laughing and mocking his suffering. That's creepy sounding. Worse still, some of the women had traditionally blackened teeth, given their smiles were unintentionally sinister edge. The atmosphere within the room was heavy, as if spirits occupied every empty corner, dancing and flitting about freely and joyously. Seiji's body sharply bent and began convulsing. Come into this world, multi-diginous Okami of Harido. Dear, stay with me, dear. Mayo no Matama, I beg of you, please do not take him. Her great-grandmother, Syria, the head of the Shizunagi family, was among the black-teethed women laughing joyously at Senji's suffering. Daddy! Daddy! I'd like to know what the fuck is happening. Was he possessed? His voice began to weaken and his convulsions began to lose strength. Finally, the last spark of life had left his body. He rolled his eyes back into his head and all movement ceased. Daddy? Why aren't you breathing? Sachiko looked up, eyes glazed over with tears. Yoshi, too, was stricken with grief and despair. This is what it means to be a Shinozaki, to be part of the cursed bloodline. All men who marry in are guaranteed to die quickly. Not even Yoshi could circumvent that fate. Oh! Shit. So, wait. Does that mean, Ayumi, whoever she marries, is probably gonna die very, very quickly? So she turned to the Forbidden Book, an item she and her family had been protecting for generations from those who might misuse it. The Grimoire, the Book of Shadows. And if you get the Ever After edition of the Corpse Party Blood Drive, you get a Grimoire photo art book. It is amazing. Okay, to lose a loved one was a fate she feared more than anything else, so she tried to offset it through black magic. It was an act of truly absurd foolishness. She must have cared for him so deeply. She would have literally done anything to see him again, no matter the cost to her own immortal soul. Aiko stared deeply into my eyes, seemingly fishing for a reaction to her tale. But then, what happened next was almost beyond belief. I continued listening, unknowingly stroking the wound on my thigh as unpleasant memories of my own foolish run-in with black magic resurfaced. The Shinozaki blood that flowed through Yoshi's veins was more powerful than anyone could have known. Its energy spawned something much different than what Yoshi intended. By which, of course, I mean... she made the alternate world? I instantly knew what she was going to say. From the book, she created a new Nirvana. There, one could coexist with the dead for all eternity. It was a new dimension cut from the netherworld itself, forcibly born unto the world of the living. Damn! Yoshi must have lost half her sanity right there. She tried to leave her own child, Sachiko, in the real world, while living with her husband's soul in the new Nirvana, the land of corpses. However, this Nirvana had a mind of its own. Yoshi couldn't possibly control it, Shinozaki or no. Well, I knew that all too well. Just like Yoshi, I'd experienced my own tragic failure with black magic at the Shinozaki clinic. Black magic has its own blowback of sorts. Her husband's soul was split apart and scattered in all directions, and Yoshi's life, too, was on the verge of being snuffed out. She knew she'd made a mistake. She deeply regretted it, and as she took what she could have only assumed to be her dying breath, her sole daughter, Sachiko, in possession of a nearly limitless spiritual potential, absorbed the entirety of this new Nirvana into her body. Brig! Poor kid. Like, damn. Okay, the poor girl collapsed on the floor, violently thrashing about as the weight of an entire dimension crushed her from the inside. This action had saved her mother's life, certainly, but death would have been preferable. Picking herself up, Yoshi rushed to her daughter's side in tears. Sachiko! Sachi! Why? Mommy! Don't die, Mommy! Damn! So that's why the world is so fixed with Sachiko. Both parent and child were bawling, pain mixing with relief, mixing with pain again. The little girl buried her face into Yoshi's bosom and just cried and cried. Yoshi grasped her tightly in both arms, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. By this point, Sachiko's body had begun producing a dark blue aura. I'm sorry, Sachi. I'm so sorry. Mommy was wrong. Mommy has you. So from now on, Mommy will never leave you. She'll never even think of leaving you again. Poor Sachiko, like, holy fuck. As you know, Sachiko is a direct descendant of the Shinozaki line, a thoroughbreed. This means her power is greater than Yoshi's. It had to be, of course. For her to house an entire dimension within her body, Aiko took a big, nosy sip of her coffee mug. Noisy, probably, is what I was supposed to say. At the time, she must have been the strongest practitioner of dark arts in all the world, little girl or not. Yet, despite that, she wound up dying. That's right, the same day Yoshi fell and died, Sachiko disappeared. That was 50 years ago now. They were both killed by the principal, just as I suspected. The principal's heinous actions are to blame, then, for resurrecting the new Nirvana within Sachiko, and creating the collapsed spaces we know as Heavenly Host Elementary. It's probably because the school was the site of Sachiko's violent demise that her Nirvana took on its form. Yet even then, with Sachiko reborn as a spirit in that realm, she was still all-powerful, seemingly continuing to exert complete control over it. I guess that's why she was able to manifest so many different, horrible things in there. This was all starting to make a sick sort of sense. The pieces were falling into place, and painting an absolutely awful picture. I shuddered to myself as I considered it. When you escaped, you removed Sachiko from the equation, but the Nirvana remained, and is going berserk once more. It should have just disappeared. The world would have been better off without it. This entire conversation was a roller coaster of emotions for me. At this point, I was really angry. Angry at everyone involved in this whole ordeal, myself included. Now then, if I may, I'd like to discuss something a bit outlandish with you. Okay. Would you like to see your dead friends again? Okay, now that is not fair. That's not fair. We're gonna say yes. That certainly got our attention. We both perked our heads up immediately. Spirits that have died in the Nirvana are said to roam its grounds, trapped and unable to find rest. As such, your friend's souls may still exist on that plane. Fuck. There are actually a number of useful magics listed in the Book of Shadows. Aside from the spell Yoshi used to create the new Nirvana, there's also a spell of revival. You know about it, don't you? Nakashima and I knew about that one all too well. Forcefully returning life to the plane is, of course, dreadfully taboo, and it's considered an affront to the will of God by virtually all religious organizations. Huh? Kishinuma seemed a bit more confused than he probably should have been, though I suspect the look on my face may have had something to do with that. I performed that spell. The very one Aiko was describing. It took hours, failed miserably, and killed my sister. All at once, the guilt returned. I lowered my head solemnly. Aiko grinned at me, and I knew she was sinking suspicion it. Sorry, I'm going to reread that. Aiko grinned at me, and I had this sinking suspicion it was because she somehow knew what I was thinking. Though, I couldn't be sure, and I certainly didn't know how she would. Still, who cares about that bullshit like that, right? You could be blasphemous. You could break every commandment. Bring it on! You'd do whatever it takes to resurrect your dead friends, no? All you have to do is find that book and cast the spell once more within Heavenly Host Elementary. Your chances of success would be much, much higher there, don't you think? Hold on. Do you have any idea what you're saying? What happens if things get even worse? I didn't exactly mean to interrupt Kishinuma, but quite honestly, I didn't even realize he was talking. I was too focused on what Aiko had just said. You know about it, don't you? Our failed attempt at Yoshi's place. Me and Nakashima. Aiko tilted her head at me, the same weary smile creeping across her face. She'd gone from cold and emotionless to knowing and expressive in a mere instant. I don't think we really believed what was happening to us. It was like a dream. What we saw was impossible. What we experienced was impossible. I thought I was going insane. It shouldn't have even been possible. We shouldn't have done it. I want to put all of this behind me. But it was real. Aiko pointed to the scar on my neck that went one step further than lightly brushed it with her hand. I could feel the touch deep within my soul. I suddenly found myself swallowing my next breath, practically choking on thin air. See, you came in contact with something ordinary people could never even imagine. Do you really think you can just turn tail and run from that now? I looked down again, trying my best to avoid Aiko's gaze. Do you really think I can do it? When had I started crying? I raised my head again, intent upon looking deep in Aiko's eyes as she answered my question, but she looked so blurry through my tears. I could tell, though, she was smiling at me. It was the same expression. Her new standard. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Could you be more specific? Can I really? Yes. Yes? What is it? I want to hear you say it. What exactly is it that you wish to accomplish? Can I bring everybody back? Nicely done. Aiko patted my head, as one might a dog's after a successful performed trick. What the Grimoire produces are miracles, spawned from the wisdom of the witches, and these miracles hold the power to bend fate, even if that fate is set in stone, so to speak. You are a descendant of the House of Shinozaki, a family of immensely powerful practitioners of magic. And since Hinoi is no longer with us, this is something only you can do. My confidence was being bolstered by the minute. Though, in retrospect, that was likely Aiko's aim. Nonetheless, if there was still something I could do for my friends... But wait! I don't even know where the Book of Shadows is anymore! Plus, you're no longer able to travel to Heavenly Host by way of the Sachiko ever in the After ritual. Now that Sachiko is gone, correct? Yeah, that's right. That's what Yuki said, anyway. Yuki Kano, a girl from the school. Aiko once again placed the bluish-white Magatama stones from the box in her hand, this time fitting them together, though not quite all the way. They were supposed to interlock. That's where this comes in. What are they? They house an exceptional amount of spiritual energy, as one would expect, given that they're spirit items from the Shinozaki line. The voice I heard told me about them. They're called Ever After Stones. Ever After Stones? I leaned forward despite myself. The name sent a shiver down my spine, but now that I'd heard it, I had to know more. These two are one. Fit them together, like puzzle pieces, and chant Nirvana, I summon the dead. And all who are in direct or indirect contact with them will be spirited away. We both flinched at her chant, but Aiko just smiled. She must have intentionally oriented the stones the wrong way so the charm wouldn't activate. It's the same when you return. She tossed the stones she'd been holding in her right hand into the left, where it clacked together with the other. Strange, isn't it? This girl taught me the technique herself. Aiko gazed longingly at the stones. She was clearly utterly enamored by them. It seemed as if they were the key factors in unleashing her newfound emotional expressiveness. But my focus was elsewhere. Without a doubt, the items Aiko now held in her left hand were extraordinarily dangerous. Extraordinarily, I messed that up. Possibly the most dangerous, horrific objects in the entire world. However, Aiko was ogling with them in her left hand. Her right hand was feeling around for something in her breast pocket. She slowly removed it, producing an old black and white photograph. When had she taken that? It was the same photograph I'd seen at Makina Shinozaki's house the previous night. Which one? That one. It depicted a young Yoshi alongside her mother and Makina. When Yoshi was in her teens, she adored her aunt Makina, and would often go over to her place for a visit. The Shinozaki family, world famous for their spiritual abilities, and this was when it all started. The surviving elder of the Yanagori society felt it was too dangerous to leave these items with the Meter bus, so he came here intending to steal the Book of Shadows away from them. Anyway, I have to end the episode here for today because I think we're quite far in, but I'm not exactly sure how far we actually are. But this has been a lot of freaking storytelling and backstory and stuff that we needed to know. So, yeah. Hope you all enjoyed episode 3. Hope you all comment, like, and subscribe. Tell me what you all thought of the episode, and hope to see you all in episode 4. Take care. Until then, guys. Bye-bye.